I called my neighbor my girlfriend before I had ever taken her on a date, before I knew how she liked her eggs, before I knew whether she even wanted a man like me standing close enough to make that kind of claim. It happened in the lobby of our apartment building on a Thursday night, with rain tapping the glass doors and a half-dead ficus leaning in the corner, like it had given up on all of us. The guy had one hand braced against the mailboxes, blocking her way. She was holding a paper grocery bag against her hip, her keys threaded between her fingers, not scared exactly, more like furious and tired in the same breath. And I heard him say, "Come on, Mara, don't be dramatic. I just want to talk." That was the first time I saw Mara Jensen look small. Not weak, never weak, just cornered. I was coming in from work with a toolbox in one hand and rainwater dripping off my jacket. My name is Jonah Price. I was 26 then, fixing old lighting rigs and soundboards for a small theater downtown, which meant I knew two things well: broken wiring and people pretending they weren't nervous. Mara lived across the hall from me in 3B. She was 25, worked at a children's dental clinic, and had the kind of calm voice that could probably convince a screaming 6-year-old that fluoride was their friend. She also had a laugh that came out only when she failed to stop it, like she didn't trust joy unless it snuck up on her. For 6 months, we had been hallway neighbors, the kind who traded packages, the kind who said, "Morning," while pretending not to notice when the other person looked especially good in worn jeans. The kind who knew each other's coffee orders by accident because the building's mailroom was across from the cafe downstairs. Not the kind who were allowed to say, "She's with me." But the man by the mailboxes didn't know that. He leaned closer to her. "You can't just ignore me after everything." Mara's eyes flicked past him and landed on me. Just for half a second. She didn't ask for help. That mattered. If she had asked, maybe I would have gone full idiot and played hero. But she didn't. She just looked at me like she was measuring whether I was the kind of man who understood the difference between stepping in and taking over. So I set my toolbox down. "Hey," I said, walking toward them. "There you are." The guy turned. Mara went very still. I looked at her, not him. I was starting to wonder if my girlfriend got lost in the rain. The word hung there. Girlfriend. I swear the whole lobby heard it, even though there were only 3 of us and one dying plant. The guy blinked. "You're what?" Mara's face changed so fast I almost missed it. Surprise first, then calculation, then something softer that hit me directly in the ribs. She stepped toward me, not behind me, beside me. Then she slid her hand into mine. Her fingers were cold from the rain. Mine closed around them before I could talk myself out of it. And under her breath, so low only I could hear, she said, "Don't take it back." I didn't. I looked at the guy. "You need to leave." He laughed, but there wasn't much confidence in it. He was tall, clean-shaven, expensive watch, the kind of man who probably apologized by explaining why you misunderstood him. "Mara," he said, ignoring me. "Seriously." Her grip tightened. "She said you need to leave," I told him. His eyes moved between us. "Funny, she never mentioned you." Mara tilted her head. "That was my favorite part." I almost smiled. Almost. Terrible timing, but Mara had that effect. She could take a room full of tension and nick it with a little blade of humor. The guy's jaw flexed. "This is childish." "No," Mara said, her voice steady now. "Showing up at my building after I told you not to is childish." That answered enough for me. He looked at me again, trying to decide if this was worth turning into something bigger. I wasn't built like a bouncer, but carrying equipment up 3 flights of stairs for a living had given me shoulders and a permanent intolerance for men who used volume as a personality. Finally, he scoffed and stepped back. "Fine," he said. "Enjoy your fake boyfriend." Mara lifted our joined hands slightly. "Oh, I intend to." That time I did smile. He left through the glass doors into the rain, and we watched until he crossed the sidewalk and disappeared into the parking lot. Only then did Mara let out a breath. I should have let go of her hand. A decent man would have. A polite neighbor would have. But she didn't let go either. For a moment, we just stood there in the lobby, hand in hand, listening to the elevator groan somewhere above us. You okay? I asked. She looked down at our hands. That depends. On what? On whether you're about to panic. I'm considering several kinds of panic. Her mouth twitched. Efficient. I try. She glanced toward the doors. His name is Derek. We went out twice. He decided that meant he had rights to my calendar, my phone, and apparently my lobby. Twice? I know, my judgment is usually better. In my defense, date one included tacos. Tacos have ruined stronger people. That got the laugh. Small, sudden, beautiful. Then she looked at me like she regretted giving me that much. Mara always did that. Let warmth slip out, then rush to cover it. I picked up her grocery bag before it tore. Come on, I'll walk you upstairs. Her eyebrows lifted. Still playing boyfriend? No, playing neighbor with basic survival instincts. That bag is one tomato away from tragedy. She handed it over. You always this smooth? Only when threatened by produce. The elevator was broken again because our building considered reliability a luxury. So we took the stairs, her hand now free, my hand now very aware of being empty. On the second floor landing, she slowed. I'm sorry, she said. For what? For dragging you into that. You didn't drag me. No, you just wandered heroically into a mess with wet hair and a toolbox. I prefer entered with practical accessories. She smiled, then looked away. Under the stairwell light, I noticed things I had trained myself not to notice too much. The little freckle near her left cheekbone. The rain darkening the ends of her brown hair. The way she hugged herself like she was cold, even though the building was too warm. You know, she said, you didn't have to say girlfriend. I know. You could have said friend. I know. Neighbor. I know. Woman who steals your parking spot when she thinks you're asleep. That was you? Her eyes widened. Allegedly. We reached the third floor. Our doors faced each other across the narrow hallway, close enough that we had both heard more of each other's lives than neighbors should. My smoke alarm at midnight. Her terrible blender at 6 in the morning. Her singing one line of the same song every Sunday and never remembering the rest. I handed her the grocery bag. She took it, but she didn't go inside. Instead, she leaned her shoulder against her door and studied me. What? I asked. You said it very easily. I swallowed. What? My girlfriend. The hallway felt suddenly smaller. I could have joked. I was good at jokes when things got too honest. Jokes were exits with better lighting. But Mara was still looking at me and her eyes were asking for something braver than charm. So I said, it didn't feel as strange as it probably should have. Her expression softened. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced down and whatever warmth had been there faded just enough for me to notice. Derek? I asked. No. She stared at the screen then laughed once without humor. Worse. Worse than Lobby Derek? My sister. That is a terrifying category. Mara looked up at me. There was a decision forming on her face, a reckless one, the kind that made my pulse shift before she even spoke. She's having an engagement dinner tomorrow, Mara said. My whole family will be there. Okay. And for the past 3 months, they've been trying to set me up with her fiancé's cousin. Sounds illegal. It should be. She took one step closer, not much. Just enough that I could smell rain and vanilla on her sweater. I may have told them I was seeing someone. I stared at her. She lifted her chin, but her voice dropped. And thanks to tonight, I finally have a name. My heart did something inconvenient. Mara. She held out her hand again, palm up, like a dare. Don't worry, Jonah, she said. You can say no. But her eyes told me she didn't want me to, and that was the part that scared me. Because I didn't want to say no either. I should have said no. A sensible man would have said, Mara, I'm flattered. But pretending to be your boyfriend at a family engagement dinner sounds like the first scene of a cautionary documentary. Instead, I looked at her open hand, then at her face, then back at her hand. You're asking me to meet your family, I said. I'm asking you to eat free food while occasionally smiling at me like I'm tolerable. I already do that in the hallway for free. Yes, but tomorrow there will be risotto. I sighed. You fight dirty. Her fingers wiggled once. Is that a yes? I slid my hand into hers. It was a bad idea. It was also the easiest decision I'd made all week. Yes. Mara's smile came slowly, like sunrise through blinds. Then she seemed to remember we were standing outside our apartments, holding hands for the second time that night, with no pushy man watching and no practical reason to continue. She looked down. We should probably establish rules. Rules? For fake dating. Right. Very professional. Should we schedule a quarterly review? Don't tempt me. I love a spreadsheet. I'm learning alarming things about you. She unlocked her door and nudged it open with her hip. Warm light spilled out, along with the smell of basil and something lemony. Her apartment looked like her. Tidy but lived in, soft cream couch, too many books stacked near a window, one stubborn plant thriving where mine would have perished. She hesitated. Do you want to come in for a minute? For the rules. I knew what she meant. I also knew what I heard. Come in. So I did. Mara set the groceries on the counter and started pulling things out with quick, restless movements. Tomatoes, pasta, a little carton of strawberries. I stood near the kitchen island, suddenly aware I had never been inside her place despite living 12 feet away from it for half a year. You have a lot of mugs, I said. I have emotional support mugs. One says bite me with a smiling tooth. Dental clinic humor. Terrifying. She laughed, then reached for two mugs. Tea? Sure. You don't sound like a tea person. I can adapt under pressure. Good quality in a boyfriend. The word landed differently indoors. Boyfriend, not shouted in a lobby, not used as a shield. Said softly in her kitchen while rain slid down the window. I leaned against the counter. So, what does your family know about me? That you exist. Strong start. That your name is Jonah. True. That you're kind. I looked at her. She busied herself with the kettle. And handy? Handy? You fixed Mrs. Alvarez's cabinet last month. She cornered me with banana bread. And you helped Mr. Singh carry his oxygen machine upstairs when the elevator broke. He looked like he was about to try it alone. And you always take your boots off before walking past my door when it's raining, because my welcome mat is absurdly pale and I once muttered about it. I stared at her. You noticed that? Her ears went pink. I notice things. That did something to me, something quiet and dangerous, because I noticed things too. I noticed how she kept her tea bags in a glass jar, how she moved carefully when she was nervous, how she had changed out of work flats into thick socks with tiny blue stars, how the fierce woman from the lobby now looked a little embarrassed to be known. You told them all that? I asked. No. She poured hot water. Some of it is just for me. The room went still. She seemed to realize what she'd said at the same time I did. I looked at her mouth. Just once. Long enough to be a problem. Mara handed me a mug. Our fingers brushed. The contact was nothing. It was also not nothing. Rule 1, she said quickly. No over-explaining. If my mother asks how we got together, we keep it simple. How did we get together? We're neighbors. And one day you realized I was irresistible. She snorted. One day I realized you owned a toolbox. That hurts. You grew on me. I'm basically mold. Handsome mold. She froze. I grinned into my tea. Noted. Don't look so pleased. Too late. She folded her arms, but she was smiling. Rule 2. No kissing unless absolutely necessary. I choked a little. She looked far too satisfied. You okay? Define. Necessary. I don't know. Emergencies. What kind of family dinner has kissing emergencies? You haven't met my Aunt Celeste. I'm intrigued and afraid. Good. That's healthy. I set my mug down. Rule 3. Her brows lifted. You have one? If you get overwhelmed tomorrow, you tell me. We leave, we take a walk, we hide in the pantry, whatever you need. Her smile faded into something more fragile. I'm not a damsel, Jonah. I didn't say you were. I can handle my family. I believe you. Then why? Because handling things doesn't mean you shouldn't have someone on your side. Mara went quiet. The kettle clicked as it cooled. Rain whispered at the glass. Across the hall, someone's TV laughed on cue. She looked down at her tea. I'm not used to that. There it was again. That tiny opening. The place where she let me see past the bright edges. I didn't step closer. I wanted to. I wanted to tuck that loose strand of hair behind her ear and ask who had taught her she needed permission to need anything. But wanting wasn't the same as being invited. So I stayed where I was. Well, I said gently, tomorrow you can practice. Her eyes lifted to mine. For a second, the fake part felt very far away. Then her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it, rolled her eyes, and turned the screen toward me. Her sister had texted, "Can't wait to meet the mystery man. Mom is already planning questions. Wear something cute. Both of you." Both of us? I said. Your sister's bossy. She was born bossy. The doctor handed her to my mother and she critiqued the lighting. What's her name? Naomi. Should I be afraid of Naomi? Yes, but she'll like you if you compliment her centerpieces. Noted. How cute do I need to be? Mara looked me over. Slowly. Too slowly. My pulse became unreasonable. You own anything besides black t-shirts and work jackets? She asked. Yes. Do you own anything that doesn't look like you just rewired a basement? Also yes. Good. Wear that. You're very specific. I'm being restrained. Her gaze snagged on my shoulders before she looked away. I decided to be merciful, mostly because I was 1 second from embarrassing myself. What time tomorrow? 6:30. It's at my parents' house in Westbrook. I'll drive. You don't have to. I know. She studied me. You say that a lot. What? I know. Maybe you keep telling me things I already know. Infuriating. I've been told. She walked me to the door, and for the first time, the hallway didn't feel like neutral territory. It felt like the space between two people who had crossed some invisible line and were pretending not to see the chalk on their shoes. I stepped into the hall. Mara stayed in her doorway, one hand on the frame. Jonah? Yeah. Her confidence slipped, just enough. Thank you for tonight. Not just for Derek. For saying yes. I could have made another joke. Instead, I told the truth. I wanted to. Her breath caught. It was small, barely audible. But I heard it. The sensible thing would have been to say goodnight and go inside. Instead, I reached up slowly, giving her every chance to move away, and brushed a raindrop from the end of her hair where it had clung near her cheek. My fingers didn't touch her skin. Almost. That was worse. Her eyes stayed on mine. No kissing unless necessary, she whispered. I dropped my hand. I'm a rule follower. Are you? Not even a little. Her smile returned, soft and dangerous. Good night, fake boyfriend. Good night, girlfriend. I went into my apartment and leaned back against the closed door like an idiot. Across the hall, I heard her laugh once, and I knew then that tomorrow night was going to ruin me. At 6:15 the next evening, I stood in front of Mara's door wearing the only navy button-down I owned and wondering if flowers were too much for a fake girlfriend. I had bought them anyway. White tulips because roses felt like a lie and grocery store daisies felt like an apology. Mara opened the door before I knocked. For one full second, I forgot my name. She wore a green dress with little buttons down the front and sleeves that stopped at her elbows. Her hair was down, soft around her shoulders, and she had on earrings shaped like tiny gold moons. She looked at the flowers, then at me, then back at the flowers. Oh, she said. I lifted them slightly. For your mother, or you, depending on how fake we're being. Her eyes softened in a way I was beginning to crave. They're beautiful. So are you. The words came out before I could make them safer. Mara went still. I opened my mouth to joke, to retreat, to pretend I had said something casual and neighborly. She took the tulips from me and stepped closer. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You clean up pretty well yourself." "Pretty well? I'm trying not to overfeed your ego." "My ego has been living on hallway nods for months. It's starving." She laughed, locked her door, and tucked her hand into the crook of my arm like she had done it 100 times. The drive to her parents' house was only 20 minutes, but it had the nervous energy of a first date. She adjusted the radio twice. I pretended not to notice she was smoothing her dress over her knees. "So," I said, "any last-minute warnings?" My mother, Helena, asked questions in sets of 12. "Like a jury?" "Like a jeweler inspecting a diamond." "Your father?" "Victor, quiet. Observes everything. If he offers you scotch, he likes you or wants to test your character." "What's the correct response?" "Depends. Do you drink scotch?" "No." "Then say no." "That's it?" My family respects directness. They just don't practice it. "And Naomi?" "My sister will be radiant, emotional, and terrifying. Her fiancé, Adrian, is harmless unless you insult soccer." "I'll compliment soccer." "Don't overdo it. He'll know." I glanced at her. "And the cousin?" "Marco. He means well, mostly. My mother means well aggressively." "Got it." She looked out the windshield. "If it gets weird, we can leave early." "If it gets weird, I'll ask you to dance in the kitchen." Her head turned. "What?" "Distraction tactic." "You dance?" "Badly, but with conviction." Her smile stayed this time. The house in Westbrook glowed at the end of a rain-dark street, all warm windows and porch lights. Before I could step around the car, Mara got out and met me at the front walk. She reached for my hand. Not my arm, my hand. Her palm slid against mine, and I looked down because I needed proof. "For authenticity?" I asked. "For me," she said. That shut me up. Inside, the evening unfolded in layers. Hugs, introductions, the smell of roasted garlic, Naomi shrieking Mara's name like they lived on different continents instead of 20 minutes apart. Helena Jensen kissed my cheek within 3 minutes and asked what I did for work, whether my parents lived nearby, if I liked children, and how I felt about dental hygiene. "Strongly in favor," I said. Mara coughed into her wine. Victor shook my hand and held it long enough to read my soul. "Theater technician?" "Yes, sir." "Good with your hands, then." Mara made a small, choking sound beside me. I did not look at her. "I try to be useful." Victor's mouth twitched. "Useful is underrated." Naomi's centerpieces were, as promised, compliment-worthy. She beamed when I said so, then immediately pulled Mara aside near the dining room. I was across the room with Adrian, discussing soccer at a level safe enough for amateurs, when I saw Naomi glance toward me and whisper something that made Mara blush. Mara Jensen blushing was a hazard. Dinner was loud and warm. Questions came. I answered what I could, honestly. "How did we meet?" "We're neighbors," Mara said. "And one night," I added, "I realized I was looking forward to taking the trash out because I might see her." The table went quiet. Mara turned to me. I hadn't planned to say it. It was true, which made it worse. Helena pressed a hand to her chest. "Oh," Naomi mouthed. "Cute." Mara's fingers found mine under the table. She squeezed once, not warning. "Thank you." I rubbed my thumb lightly over her knuckles, hidden beneath the linen napkin, and felt her breath change beside me. After dinner, people scattered toward coffee and dessert. Mara slipped onto the back porch for air. I gave her 30 seconds, then followed with 2 plates of cake. She was leaning against the railing, the porch light turning her hair copper at the edges. "You escaped," I said. "I strategically relocated." "With no cake. Rookie mistake." I handed her a plate. She took a bite and closed her eyes. Okay, you're useful. Your father will be thrilled." She laughed, then grew quiet. Through the window, her family moved around the kitchen, bright and busy. Out here, the night smelled like wet grass and sugar. "You were good in there," she said. "I only lied twice." "About what?" "That I understood Adrian's soccer story and that I wasn't nervous." "You were nervous?" I looked at her. "Mara, your mother asked if I flossed." "She asks everyone that." "She asked with feeling." Mara smiled into her cake, then set it on the railing. My family is a lot, she said. They love you. I know. But she rubbed her thumb over the edge of her plate. Sometimes love comes with a clipboard. Naomi is the golden storm. Big feelings, big plans, big announcements. I'm the one who's supposed to be fine, steady, sensible. You are steady. Her eyes lifted. But you don't have to be only that, I said. The porch seemed to narrow around us. Mara looked at me like I had reached for something she kept hidden in a locked drawer. I don't know how you keep doing that, she whispered. Doing what? Seeing me. I set my cake down too. I've been trying not to, I admitted. Her lips parted slightly. For months, I said. In the hall, at the mailboxes. When you come home tired and still ask Mrs. Alvarez about her knee? When you sing half a song on Sundays and then get mad because you forgot the words? Her face changed. You hear that? Everyone on the third floor hears that. Oh my God. It's charming. It is not. It is to me. Her smile trembled, and then she moved closer, just one small step. Inside the house, someone called for more coffee, a chair scraped. Life went on without us. Mara looked at my mouth. Then the porch door opened. Naomi stuck her head out. Sorry, Mom wants pictures before dessert collapses emotionally. Mara stepped back so fast I almost laughed. Naomi narrowed her eyes at us. Am I interrupting? Yes, Mara said. My heart kicked. Naomi grinned. Excellent, come inside. Pictures meant arms around shoulders, cheeks pressed close, Helena arranging us like flowers in a vase. Jonah, sweetheart, put your arm around Mara properly, she instructed. Mara muttered, Mother. I bent slightly toward her ear. Define properly. If you make me laugh in this picture, I'll hurt you. You'd miss me. Unfortunately. I settled my hand at her waist. She inhaled. It was barely anything, that touch. Fabric under my palm, warmth beneath it. But Mara leaned into me by a fraction, and I knew she chose it. The flash went off. Once. Twice. On the third one, Helena said, Kiss her cheek. Mara froze. Rule 2, no kissing unless necessary. I looked at her, asking without words. Her eyes flicked to mine. Then she turned her face, offering her cheek, but not looking away. So I kissed her. Not the polite air beside her skin, not a performance. My lips touched the soft curve near her cheekbone, warm and brief, and I felt her hand clutch my shirt at the side like the floor had tilted. The room cheered. I pulled back slowly. Mara stared at me, eyes bright and shocked and not at all angry. That was necessary? She whispered. Your mother had a camera? Dangerous woman. Very. Her fingers were still curled in my shirt. She noticed, but she didn't let go. For the rest of the evening, we stopped pretending badly and started pretending too well. On the drive home, Mara was quiet. I parked outside our building, but didn't turn off the engine right away. If I crossed a line, I said, with the cheek kiss, you didn't. Her answer came fast, then softer. I think that's the problem. I looked at her. Rain dotted the windshield again, blurring the streetlights into gold. Mara unbuckled her seatbelt and turned toward me. Jonah, I need to tell you something before this gets any more confusing. My pulse slowed, heavy and hard. She reached across the console and took my hand. I don't want to keep calling this fake if I'm the only one who means it less every time. For a second, I couldn't answer her. Not because I didn't know what I wanted. Because I knew too well. Mara's hand rested in mine over the console, her thumb tucked against my palm like she was holding herself back from gripping harder. The rain made soft, ticking sounds on the roof of my car. Behind us, our building stood with half its windows lit, ordinary and familiar. Nothing about the moment felt ordinary. You're not the only one, I said. Her breath left her in a rush. No? No. The smallest smile touched her mouth, then disappeared under nerves. You're sure? Mara, I bought tulips and learned your father's Scotch habits. I'm in deep. She laughed, but it broke a little at the end. That sound pulled me closer. I turned in my seat. Can I be honest? Please. I don't want to be your boyfriend because Derek showed up. I don't want to be useful for one dinner. I don't want to be the guy you borrow when your family gets loud. Her face went still. I squeezed her hand. I want to take you out because I like the way you argue with me. I like that you pretend you don't care when you do. I like your terrible Sunday singing. It's one song, she whispered. It's half a song. Her smile trembled. And I really want to kiss you, I said. Not for a picture. Not because it's necessary, because you keep looking at me like you might let me. Mara's eyes dropped to my mouth. I might, she said. That was all I needed. I leaned in slowly, giving her room to change her mind. She met me halfway. Our first real kiss was quiet. No cheering family, no flash, no fake excuse. Just Mara's fingers sliding up to the collar of my shirt and her mouth soft under mine, hesitant for one heartbeat and then not hesitant at all. I had imagined kissing her in the weak moments, passing her door, hearing her laugh, watching her balance coffee and mail like a circus act. Every version in my head had been wrong. This was better. This was her little inhale when I angled closer, her hand tightening at my neck. The rain blurring everything outside until the car became the whole world. When we broke apart, she stayed close enough that her forehead nearly touched mine. Oh, she said. I smiled. Good-o or bad-o? Shut up for a second. I'm reassessing my entire neighborhood policy. I laughed and she kissed me again. Shorter, braver. Then she pulled back and pointed at me. We need rules again. Already? Yes, real dating rules. I prefer chaos. I know, that's why rules. I turned off the engine. Okay, rule 1. She looked down at our joined hands. We go slowly enough that I don't panic. Done. Rule 2. If this gets weird, we talk about it instead of pretending not to hear each other through the walls. Specific, but fair. Rule 3. She hesitated. You don't get to decide what I need without asking. I sobered. Done. And I don't hide behind fake anymore. That one seemed to cost her something. I lifted her hand and kissed her knuckles. Done. Her eyes warmed. You're very agreeable after kissing. I've discovered motivation. We sat there grinning like idiots until a neighbor pulled into the lot and headlights washed over us. Mara ducked back laughing. Come on, she said, before Mrs. Alvarez sees and starts planning a wedding. She already has a cake flavor in mind. Banana bread. Obviously. Upstairs, we stopped between our doors. The hallway was dim, the carpet ugly, the air smelling faintly of someone's burned popcorn. It had never felt romantic before. Mara leaned against her door just like the night before, but everything had changed. So, she said, do we say goodnight normally? I don't know what normal is anymore. Good. She reached for the front of my shirt and tugged me close. This kiss was slower. Less surprise. More choice. I rested one hand on the doorframe beside her, the other at her waist, and felt her smile against my mouth when my thumb brushed the green fabric of her dress. Then her apartment door rattled under her back. We both froze. From inside, her phone buzzed on the small table by the entry, loud enough to hear through the door. Mara closed her eyes. If that's Naomi, I'm moving. It might be your mother asking about my flossing routine. Don't joke, she would. The buzzing stopped, then started again. Mara sighed and unlocked her door. 1 second. I waited in the hall while she stepped inside. Her smile faded when she picked up the phone. I knew before she said his name. Derek. I stayed where I was. Rule 3, ask, don't assume. Mara looked at the screen, jaw tight. 3 missed calls, 2 texts. You want me to come in? Her gaze lifted to mine. For once, she didn't pretend she was fine. Yes. So I came in. She handed me the phone without hiding the messages. We need to talk. Saw you with him. You can't just replace people like that. My stomach tightened, but I kept my voice calm. Do you want to respond? No. Block him? I should have already. You can do it now. Her thumb hovered over the screen. Why does something so simple still make me feel dramatic? Because people like that train you to feel guilty for closing a door. She looked at me sharply. I regretted saying it for half a second, afraid I'd pushed too far, but Mara only swallowed. That, she said, is unfortunately accurate. She blocked the number. Then she set the phone face down on the counter like it might bite. The apartment was quiet around us. The flowers I'd brought were now in a blue vase by the sink, open and bright under the kitchen light. "I'm sorry," she said. "That is not exactly post-kiss magic." I crossed to her, stopping close but not touching yet. "Mara." "What?" "I'm still very enchanted." A laugh slipped out of her, shaky but real. I held out my hand. "Come here." She studied me for a second, then stepped into my arms. Not because she needed protecting, because she wanted to be held. That difference mattered to both of us. She rested her cheek against my chest, and I wrapped my arms around her carefully at first, then more fully when she relaxed. Her hair brushed my jaw. She smelled like vanilla, rain, and someone I was already in danger of missing while she was right there. "I hate that he got even 2 minutes of tonight," she murmured. "Then we take them back." She tilted her head up. "How?" "Tea, couch. You tell me the missing lyrics to the Sunday song?" "I don't know them." "I suspected. It's humiliating. It's adorable. You're biased now. Wildly." Her smile returned, soft and tired. "Tea sounds nice." So we made tea, not fake date tea. Real tea, barefoot in her kitchen, while she changed into leggings and an oversized sweater, and I pretended not to be destroyed by how much I liked her comfortable. We sat on her couch with our knees touching, the mug steaming on the coffee table. She played the song from her phone, and when the chorus came, she still got the words wrong. I sang them worse on purpose. She shoved my shoulder. That was offensive. "I'm a theater professional. You repair lights? Art adjacent." She laughed hard enough to lean into me. I tucked my arm around her, and she stayed there. After a while, her voice grew quieter. "I meant what I said in the car. I want this. I'm just scared I'll ruin it by being too much or not enough." I turned toward her. "You don't have to perform some easier version of yourself for me." Her eyes shone. "I like this version," I said. "The overthinking, spreadsheet-loving, half-song version." "Handsome mold," she whispered. "Exactly." She touched my jaw, tentative and sweet. "I like you too, Jonah, more than is convenient. Convenience is overrated." Spoken like a man who agreed to meet my family after one fake lobby announcement. "And would do it again." She kissed me then, slow and certain, with her hand warm against my face. By the time I left, it was nearly midnight. At her door, she caught my hand before I crossed the hall. "No taking it back?" she asked. I smiled, remembering the lobby. I lifted our joined hands and kissed her fingers. Not a chance. The next morning, I woke to 3 knocks on my door, not urgent, not polite. "Mara knocks." I opened it in sweatpants and a t-shirt, hair probably pointing in several directions. She stood there holding 2 coffees and wearing the softest smile I had ever seen. "Morning, boyfriend," she said. My chest did something ridiculous. "Morning, girlfriend." She handed me a cup. I thought we should practice saying it in daylight. "How are we doing?" Her eyes moved over my face. "Dangerously well." I leaned against the doorframe. "Do you want to come in?" "Yes." She stepped closer. "But I have to be at work in 20 minutes, and if I come in, I'm going to kiss you and then I'll be late. I respect your professionalism." "No, you don't. Not even a little." She laughed, rose onto her toes, and kissed me anyway. It was quick, warm, and entirely worth whatever cavity-related emergency awaited her at the clinic. After that, dating Mara became both easier and harder than fake dating her. Easier because I didn't have to pretend not to stare when she smiled at me across the hallway. Harder because real meant we had to tell the truth. On our first actual date, I took her to the taco place she claimed had impaired her judgment with Derek. She wore jeans and a red sweater, and I spent half the meal trying not to grin like a man who had found buried treasure under a pile of takeout menus. "So, this is where it happened?" I asked. "The taco betrayal?" She pointed a chip at me. "Do not blame the tacos. The tacos were innocent." "I don't know. They seem complicit." "You're jealous of tacos?" "I'm jealous of anything that got your attention before I did." Her smile softened. "You had my attention." I went still. She dipped her eyes to her plate. "You just didn't know it." There were moments like that. Moments when 6 months of hallway almosts unfolded between us and showed us they had been something all along. Derek tried once more from a new number. Mara didn't shake this time. She didn't apologize for being upset. She didn't hand me the decision either. She showed me the message, took a breath, and said, "I'm blocking him. Then I'm saving these in case I need them. Then we're watching that terrible cooking show you hate." "I don't hate it. You called it a crime against knives." "It is. But I like watching you yell at strangers about overcooked pasta." She blocked him. Then she curled under my arm on her couch and stayed there. That was how we learned each other for real. Not in one dramatic confession, but in small, stubborn choices. She learned that I got quiet when I was worried because I'd grown up in a house where problems became louder if you named them. I learned that Mara joked when she was scared because people were less likely to push if she made them laugh first. She met my mother over Sunday lunch and somehow left with 3 recipes and a standing invitation. I met more of her family and survived Helena asking whether I had long-term intentions while handing me a bowl of salad. "I have intentions," I said carefully. Mara nearly dropped her fork. Victor hid a smile behind his napkin. Naomi cried once because she said we looked emotionally symmetrical, whatever that meant. Spring came slowly that year. Rain softened. The dead ficus in the lobby was finally replaced by a plant that looked slightly more hopeful. The elevator remained committed to betrayal. By then, Mara and I had stopped knocking every time. Sometimes she left a mug at my place. Sometimes my spare work hoodie ended up on her couch. Sometimes we burned dinner in one apartment and ordered Thai in the other. One evening, 4 months after the lobby, we stood in the mailroom sorting envelopes when Mrs. Alvarez smiled at our joined hands. "You two finally figured it out," she said. Mara looked at me. "Finally?" Mrs. Alvarez patted my arm. "Sweetheart, everyone on the 3rd floor knew." Mara's mouth fell open. "Everyone?" "Your Sunday singing was basically a mating call," Mrs. Alvarez said, and shuffled away before either of us could recover. Mara turned scarlet. I leaned close. "Charming. If you say one more word, I'm changing buildings." "You'd miss me," she sighed. "Unfortunately." Then she kissed me right there beside the mailboxes. The same mailboxes where I had called her my girlfriend before I had any right to. Only this time, she kissed me like the word belonged to both of us. 6 months later, Naomi got married in a garden full of white lights and rose petals. Mara stood beside her sister in a pale blue dress, holding flowers and trying not to cry. I sat in the 2nd row with Helena and Victor wearing a suit Mara had helped me pick out. When she walked down the aisle, her eyes found mine. Not her sister, not the flowers. Me. And I knew, with a certainty that made my throat tight, that I wanted every ordinary day could get with her. At the reception, after Naomi and Adrian had their first dance, Mara found me near the edge of the floor. "Dance with me," she said. "I warned you. I dance badly. With conviction. With great conviction." She put her hand in mine. "Then convince me." So I did. I held her under strings of warm lights while music drifted around us and her family laughed nearby. She fit against me like she had been teaching me how to hold her from the beginning. Halfway through the song, she rested her cheek against my chest. "You know," she said, "that night in the lobby when you called me your girlfriend, I almost corrected you." I looked down at her. "Why didn't you?" She lifted her face, eyes bright. "Because for 1 second, I wanted it to be true more than I wanted to be careful." I brushed my thumb over her cheek. "And now?" "Now, I still want it to be true." "It is." Her smile trembled. "Good." A year after that night, I moved across the hall for good. Not because it was practical, though it was. Not because my lease ended, though it did. Because one evening, Mara stood in the doorway between our apartments, wearing my hoodie and holding 2 mugs of tea and said, "This is ridiculous. Half your socks live here. I can issue a formal apology, or you can bring the rest." So I did. We kept both welcome mats for a while, side by side in front of her door, like proof that 2 separate lives had chosen the same threshold. And sometimes, when rain hit the lobby windows and the mailboxes gleamed under that ugly fluorescent light, Mara would slide her hand into mine and whisper, "Don't take it back." I never did. The last time she said it, we were coming home late from dinner, laughing because she had forgotten the words to that same song again. The new lobby plant stood tall in the corner. The elevator was miraculously working. Her hand was warm in mine. I stopped by the mailboxes and turned her toward me. "I love you," I said. Her laughter faded. For a heartbeat, she just looked at me. Then Mara smiled like every locked door in her had opened at once. "I love you too," she whispered. And when she kissed me, it wasn't fake, or necessary, or for anyone watching. It was simply ours. What would you have done if you called your neighbor my girlfriend to get a pushy guy to back off, and she took your hand and told you not to take it back? Have you ever experienced something even close to that? Tell your story in the comments. And for those who'd like to be a little closer to us, we've opened memberships where you'll get shorter exclusive stories every week with no ads. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.